other interesting culture news, you have Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis have an apology for standing by Danny Masterson, so to say. Now, Danny Masterson is, I guess all three of them are famously known for being on That 70s Show, which was not filmed in the 70s, interestingly enough. It is perhaps best known for being one of maybe 5 good business decisions Fox News has ever made, in terms of they pick a lot of shows to be produced. Most of them they cancel after a season, or they just crater exponentially into mediocrity. And again, part of media is a little bit of a crapshoot or a gamble when it comes to media production. You're not going to know all the variables, but I can't help but notice an overwhelming majority of the time, Fox makes the wrong business decisions, including recently firing Tucker Carlson, who was their top talent and is now getting 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 million views each episode he posts on Twitter, also known as X. Now, in this case, you have allegations against Danny Masterson dating back quite some years in regard to, I mean, again, I know certain words are banned on the YouTube, which I didn't know until I started to get some feedback, unfortunately, negative feedback from the YouTube authorities. So he took advantage of women, allegedly, I believe it was during the peak of his fame. Now, it looks like there were 3 separate women. It looks like there were incidents in 2001, 2003, and as well. And let's see here. He's allegedly facing a maximum of 30 years. Oh yes, so it was 3 women. It was in the early 2000s. Now, I don't believe, and again, we're not privy to all the details, but I don't know if there's any hard evidence in this instance. But the curveball through this instance was that they're all part of the culture and cult of Scientology. So it's one of those instances where it is concerning the way that organization is set up. They actually have their own court system. And I forgot, what was it, Rima? There's a famous gal from The King and Queens where she actually left Scientology and had a great interview on Joe Rogan to talk about the nuances and how scary that organization is. And they actually have their own court system. For these ladies to go outside of the court of Scientology to go to the real courts in the real world, that I would say certainly says something, because that goes against their whole culture. They would be ostracized from that group. They're kind of like the Amish, but more nerdy, I would say, and enormously fiscally successful, owning land, more land than most people can comprehend. And now, in terms of standing by Danny, you had Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. They came out and they actually sent letters to the court, which weren't supposed to come out public, but they were character references. So you see this in many court instances where they'll ask people who know the defendant, and they'll ask, can you give a letter giving your opinion of their authenticity, giving them a personal reference, not all too dissimilar from when you're asking someone to help you get a new job. And you say, hey, can you give me a character reference? You've never, maybe they haven't worked with them, but you know them in a certain capacity. So it came out that they had these letters sent about Danny, and they weren't saying in these letters that they knew he was 100% innocent. Again, they were talking about his character. And again, I know this is all, that can go hand in hand with the situation. And it is interesting to see. They came out with an apology video, and they were ratioed in seconds, of course. So you had Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, who, geez, I don't know if he's hungover, but he just looks scruffy. And of course, he made the dire mistake. He's in an apology video wearing a white t-shirt. Come on, you're from Iowa. Suit up for every important occasion. It always makes it look better. Of course. And then you have Miley, who looks like, again, they're actors. How much do you really know of them? She looks like she's been crying, maybe. They don't look pretty. So it's only about a minute long, so we'll play this really quick. So this is their apology that they wrote a character reference to someone who was their friend. And unfortunately, with the current court proceedings, it looks like the court found him guilty. So unfortunately, that means he's one of the most morally, mentally vacuous people in history, performing one of the worst acts that you could possibly imagine, taking advantage of these women. And I really hope it's not true, of course, because it's horrifying to see from a societal, cultural perspective. You see some of these allegations come out, and some people just hope that they're true because they want bad things to happen to the person who's being to the defendant, just because they don't like them on a personal or political level. I would, with these types of charges, I would hope no one would ever want this to be true, because if the allegations are true, and if the court was right, that means, again, he did terrible, indefensible things. I don't know. It is sad that people wish that just so they can be quote unquote right about someone, but again, something that is a little disappointing from a cultural perspective these days. So without further ado, here's the good old Ashton Kutcher and Meg, also known as Mila Kunis.
We are aware of the pain that has been caused by the character letters that we wrote on behalf of Danny Masterson.
We support victims. We have done this historically through our work and will continue to do so in the future.
A couple months ago, Danny's family reached out to us and they asked us to write character letters to represent the person that we knew for 25 years so that the judge could take that into full consideration relative to the sentencing.
The letters were not written to question the legitimacy of the judicial system or the validity of the jury's ruling.
They were intended for the judge to read and not to undermine the testimony of the victims or re-traumatize them in any way. We would never want to do that. And we're sorry if that has taken place.
Our heart goes out to every single person who's ever been a victim of sexual assault, sexual abuse, or rape.
Huh. Interesting. She looks... It is weird to see Meg from... Oh, that's how many people know her nowadays, as the voice actress from Family Guy portraying Meg. Now, it looks like in terms of the responses, again, this was posted all over on this particular site. It was our YouTube channel is Page 6, which presumably is a magazine or a book, I would think. Now, in terms of her top responses, in that video, again, within 2 days, got 202,000 views and 636 likes. So, definitely not a lot of people liking it. Now, one of the top results was Simple Fan 101. This person said, quote, "They're actors and they couldn't even pretend they meant these words. I guess they needed a director for this sad excuse of an apology. Very pathetic." Now, that person got 610 likes, so almost as much as people who like the video in and of itself. You also have a gentleman by the name of Mark J. Jones say, quote, "Or in other words, we're sorry our support for a serial R word," and not the mentally handicapped one, the other one, has been exposed to the public, unquote. That person got 752 likes, beating the video completely and ratioing it, as the youth might say. You also have somebody named as Marcos Danielson saying, quote, "Let's be honest, they never thought their letters with their true feelings were ever going to be public," unquote. That person won the ratio of the day, getting 1.5 thousand likes. Quite a lot of negativity, and I scrolled for quite some time. And I'm not seeing a lot of support for him, interestingly enough. Got another one saying, "Shame on them. I don't care about these disgusting, insincere apologies." Which, another one says, "I don't know why you support a creep. Public face differs from a private face." Another one says, quote, "Why doesn't she say our hearts go out to Danny's victims," unquote. Well, again, if that's your friend, I would hope you would believe your friend and they don't believe the allegations. And again, if they were to say that out loud, I can't help but think they'd be even further ostracized from our society. But it's one of those instances where if you've been a friend with someone for 25 years, deep down in your heart, you really... I don't know if you could comprehend that they were a monster the whole time. It's just one of those instances where... kind of between a rock and a hard place. I don't know if this is really a positive response they could have had that wouldn't destroy themselves or Danny in the process. And again, I really hope the allegations aren't true, or in this case, the court has ruled. I don't know if they're... And again, when it comes to court proceedings, you could argue for years about overturning it or appealing the ruling. And again, I never hope these are true. At the end, with the current data they have, or the judge had, it looks like justice has been served. And it'll be interesting to see what goes on from here. But let me know in the comments, do you think... I mean, a lot of people are saying, "Oh yeah, Danny always seemed weird the whole time." I mean, I've never met these people personally. I have no idea what they're like off screen or off camera. A lot of people are saying that the guy who played Eric Foreman was always the odd man out, and maybe he kind of saw what was going on the whole time. There's a lot of speculation, but again, a lot of the issues with inherently these situations is isn't always a lot of hard proof. In some cases, there's not video evidence, DNA evidence, and in some cases, it is difficult when it is a he said, she said type of situation. From a legal perspective, that's a lot more hairy of a situation, some might say, as opposed to when you have hardcore traditional video evidence, as I was previously just saying. But it'll be interesting. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Danny is truly guilty? Do you think they're going to try to get this overturned? Obviously, Danny's lawyers are going to argue that till they're blue, red in the face. But let me know in the comments, with all the data we have right now, currently, what are your thoughts on the ruling? It'll be interesting to see. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of September, so if you can click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, taking the time to like and comment greatly help out the video with the algorithm. Feedback is always appreciated. Love hearing about your experiences, how you can make the show better together. Also, lastly, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.